Yeah, leave it that. Let that be. You are listening to the Maze Jackson Show, and we are back. Y'all got to get the shares up, share the broadcast. Let all the people know what's going on. Take a moment, share the broadcast, because coming up very shortly, we are going to be talking to candidate for mayor Brandon Johnson very shortly. But I want to get y'all to, I want to get y'all to get this thing cracking up. Get this. Share the broadcast. Man. All right, y'all. Let's see. Did I miss anything? Ooh, look at this. Did you see Wendy Taylor Nations is candidate for alderman of the 43rd? We got it. Y'all like, what is he talking about? All right, y'all, it's the Maze Jackson Show. I'm back in the building. Reese, we back on all the channels. We back on all the stations. I think I'm going to have to go back to Restream. I am using the Switcher Live, but the Switcher seems... See, I like my ticker, man. Well, actually, I think I could keep my ticker. I just can't get the comments. All right, Reese. All right. So you think we're gonna get on the black? Let me ask a question. Does everybody recognize that right now the mayor's race is important, but also the city council? We have an opportunity to go get the first time in history a strong council and weak mayor. I think a lot of people are starting to grasp that, which is why CTU endorsed in 18 wards, in 18 races. Reese, that's a lot of places. So if you think about 18 plus 6, that means that the socialists and CTU could essentially control city council. And so the business interests are getting together. Now, my issue, when the business interests get together, usually back when it was Rahm, it meant that the billionaire got together and he rounded up all the people and everybody sat at the table while the billionaire told everybody what to do. And the black people was like, damn, he do got $1 billion. What I'm supposed to say? And essentially, then what happens is all of the black elected officials, like Reese, like when the white guys walk in the room, all the black elected officials go to the white guy because they know he got the bag, whereas the black dude, they don't. Right? And as compared to letting that happen again, what we should really be doing is putting our own pack together and saying we'll work in alignment with you, but y'all take the north side, y'all take the white guys, we'll take the black guys, we'll meet in the middle. Not y'all get under me, y'all go get y'all black guys together and come tell them to do what I tell them to do. And then at the end of the day, the black people are reporting back up to the white guy, not the black people. Does that make sense?
Perfectly sense.
And so when I saw this story, like my initial mode would be to go on attack of the person. I'm not attacking Rumler. I think he's a smart guy. It's a very smart tactic, and I think it should be employed. But what I am suggesting is that all of these decisions around around the whole city affect all of us. If we got 18 seats on the city council and they're trying to do play between 18 and 23, that means that they're counting our black folks in their count. Who is Rumler's black counterpart? right? Reese, it's like it's one thing to tell me I got to be bossed by somebody, but it's another thing to tell me. And the thing is, if the black people locked in with the black elected officials, the black people would be more powerful than the billionaire in the city. But because
It's strength in numbers.
right, because the billionaire only got himself and his crew. It's only like 6 billionaires. It's 18 black aldermen, 15 black aldermen, right? So if you need the city to go, it would behoove the black people in the space. That means the BLC. That means the old guys that's rich. It means all of us coming together and saying, okay, dog, are we really going to allow them to are we going to allow another group to control our side of town? It's not anti anybody. But like, I'm not sure that I think we should be submitting if there is going to be a collection of moderate candidates. Who determines what the black moderate is in the white group? Who determines, like, so when this group decides to support and they're reading the questionnaire, does it mean that you support the right of undocumented immigrants to vote? And what if that's part, because that's now a Democratic platform, but that's not going to help us, correct? So my question becomes, if they're going to organize a big money PAC, why would they who are the black people that have equal say? And actually probably should have more say, because why, Reese? Because we got the most seats. But because we ain't got the most money, what happens is our guys, but we have to be able to control our votes. Lack limited thereof. Remember, even if our votes go down across the city, the wards are still the same. This is probably the most optimal time, which I've said before, to elect a black alderman that you would like. Because the vote turnout is low. And guess what, Reese? They see that too. Hey, could you let him in? I think he's downstairs. But open up the phone line. Caller, you on the Mace Jackson Show. What's up? Caller, are you there?
Healthy greetings.
Hey, Mama D,
Yes,
how you doing?
Hey, I like your plan. And in addition to that, I think the NAA, Indigenous Native American Africans, need an executive order from these candidates running for mayor, like Lori Lightfoot did, giving the 19 benefits to the sanctuary settlers, including that $1,000 stimulus check. So we need that for the add an A to that DREAM Act, Development, Relief, and Education for African American minors under the age of 31, exemption from any amnesty from any crime that's not federal, and exemption from student loans and student debt. And at the national level, we need to demand that Joe Biden do what Barack Obama did, give the governmental leg up for the black DACA. The regular DACA is delayed actions for childhood arrivals when, first of all, they're not children because they are under the age of 31. But we need a black DACA, 400 years of delayed actions for in-chain arrivals. And put that out there. If they want our vote, they need our vote. It ain't a matter of want. We are the backbone of the Democratic Party. And if they don't give us what we want, it's time for the sons of former slaves and former slave owners to sit down at the table of brotherhood and carry and do our own deal. What do you think?
I think it is time. I think one of the biggest things that I'm concerned about, though, Mama D, honestly, is this concept that we are the backbone of the Democratic Party. I was pointing out that J.B. Pritzker was able to be elected governor with the lowest black vote turnout in recent history. If you look around the country, black voter disillusionment with the Democratic Party is apparent, but the Democrats have found a way to patch together a win. So I just want y'all to be conscious that there is a concerted effort. Remember when I used to play that video from Senator Durbin, who said that we are having a lack of birth, right? There's a lack of black births, right? And so we need to be bringing more people into our country to fill jobs. We just need to do it in an orderly process. There is a nationwide movement to create, to provide the right to vote for undocumented immigrants. And I think these are all questions that we need to be asking when we see these groups deciding that they're going to elect the right candidates. I want to know who are the black people that are in this conversation, because the black people that have been in the conversation when they've elected the right people have left the black people out of the equation. Caller, you're on the Mace Jackson Show. Caller?
Hi, good morning, Mace. This is Katie. How are you?
Hey, Katie, president of the phone club. How are you? You know, I'm about to bring on Brandon Johnson very shortly. So I'm gonna how many calls I got up there, Reese? Just this is Katie, the last one? All right, Katie, you got the last call, my darling. From Ashburn.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the Facebook. You keep bouncing on and off, and I'm wondering if anybody else is experiencing that. If somebody messing with you, I can keep bouncing on, and then, pardon?
You know what? I don't know, Katie. You know, when I start talking about these hot topics, then the Twitter bugs get. I'm off again on Facebook. So what typically?
Yes, you are off every few minutes. You are off. I can't keep you on.
So you know what you got to do? You got to go to YouTube, because you know what happened, right? I heard some people's feelings this morning. And so usually what happens when that happens is that we get people start reporting because they don't want the conversation that we're having to happen. So essentially what happens, Katie, is on Facebook, you can report and end the conversation and flag it as offensive, and then they have to go back. So Facebook is still recording the broadcast, and it'll come back live later on once they find out that I didn't say anything wrong. But what typically happens when we have conversations, and you saw how high that it got, is that somebody, usually when we're hurting someone's feelings, they get their friends and they start to report the show. And when they report the show, then they take the show off.
I can't keep you on.
Right. So go to YouTube.
Every 5 seconds.
We cracking on YouTube. So go to YouTube. Thank you, my darling. I appreciate you. All right, y'all. We're about to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to be talking to candidate for mayor of the city of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. He's in the building. Did he wear his chance hat? Do he got a chance hat on? Did he bring a skateboard? All right, he said he was going to be smart. So anyway, we're going to be talking to mayoral candidate Brandon Johnson. Looking forward to the conversation. We'll be back after these messages.
The Mace Jackson Show. We'll be back after this break. Mace Jackson.
Tune in to the Mace Jackson Show every day, Monday, 9 a.m., where you can catch us on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook Live. Plus, from 6:30 to 8, you can get us on WBGX 1570 AM. That's right, it's the Mace Jackson Show, where every single day we ask the question, what's in it for the black people? And if you don't like it, you can still tell them. Mace said, we out of here. Peace.
Crying. Brother, there's far too many of you dying. You know we got to find a way to bring some love in a day. Father, we don't need to escalate. War is not the answer, 'cause only love can conquer hate. got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Picket lines, picket signs, don't punish me. Brutality, talk to me so you can see what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. I wanna know what's going on. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Mother, mother, mother. Everybody says that we're wrong. Who are they to judge us? Simply because my hair's gone. Oh, no, no. You know we got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Picket lines, picket signs, don't punish me. Brutality, talk to me so you can see. Oh, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. What's going on? I wanna know what's going on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Will you tell me what's going on? What's going on? Yeah, yeah. Mother, everybody says that we're wrong. Who are they to judge us? Simply because my hair's gone. No, no, no. You know we got to find a way to bring some understanding today. Picket lines.
You are listening to the Mace Jackson Show. I'm your host, Mace Jackson. Got my man DJ Reese, the ruler, in the building and sitting in with me. All right, y'all know I have used every reference in the whole entire world for this brother. I told you he is my. Okay, let's back up because Brandon is one to. Excuse me, Commissioner Johnson. And I recognize you'll probably say, call me Brandon, but I try to make sure that I give black people the respect of their title, especially in the public sphere, because sometimes we don't tend to get that. And I think sometimes white folks go out of their way to call you by their first name. Like they be like, Brandon, yes, I was friends with Brandon. I'm like, dog, he's the commissioner, right? He votes on your budget, all of that good stuff.
They'll actually give you a nickname. They'll give you a nickname.
Oh, well, right.
Further.
Yeah, boy. No. So anyway, they probably
They'll just
not
call
that
you
far.
by your full name when they want to get to you.
Right. So I gotta tell you that my first encounter with you was back when we were both, I think, had shows on WVON at the time, and I was like, who is this left wing black dude? Like I was like, this dude is off the deep end. However, as often happens, when you see a personality from a distance and then you meet and you have personal interaction, and you realize that there's a public persona, not that it doesn't match, but that oftentimes you can find a place to converse. And then I think that was when you were organizing, and then you took out Richard Boykin. Now, I'll be honest with you. I probably wasn't, I like Richard Boykin, and I think more so the reason that I had a challenge was because of the other lady who was attacking my wife, right? Who had just, so at that time, it's like, my enemy's enemy is my friend. But I think in that process, you've never been You've never really tried to hold that against me. I think we've always been able to have a pretty decent relationship. Then when you embarked upon this journey to be mayor, when I first heard about it, I was like, Lord have mercy, Jesus. I don't know. And we sat down. We had multiple conversations. Let me also be clear, right? The last person that I expected to have a phone call or a physical conversation and discussion prior to announcing for mayor would have been you, right? Just because of, all of the hype in the world and Mays the bad guy and all of those different things. And I think in sitting down, we had a great opportunity to put down some of the misconceptions. And since that point, I have tried to do my best within the realm of myself to give you a fair shake, being what I consider a socialist, right? So let's start here. Brandon, a lot of us may not know you. And so I'd like for you to just look into the camera, introduce yourself to the What's in It for the Black People audience, and just tell us who you are and why you're running for mayor.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, Mays, and good morning to the What's in for the Black People family and everybody else who tunes in, whether you do it intentionally or you sneak into it. First of all, let me just say this location here, whether you decide to stay here or not, it's actually a pretty remarkable place. People should come down here and actually take a tour. There's an entire hot bar section over there with hot chocolate from 1792. You can get you some spicy ones. Walk into a place early in the morning, you see all those varieties of hot chocolates you can have at 7:30 in the morning. Is actually pretty impressive. But it is a great location. So look, my story is similar to most black folks, particularly in Chicago. My father, Salis, Mississippi. Everybody asks where is Salis, Mississippi, or any other place in Mississippi. 2 hours from Jackson. My father was the eldest of his crew, and they're part of the second migration. Stopped near where I live now on the west side of Chicago, but settled on 79th and Ashland. My father, was a working class, dude. Met my mother. They married young, and they wanted us to have, the best opportunities that the North could afford. Us. And, my father, was a pretty remarkable human being, again, working class, drove a truck, was a public employee, but he was also a pastor. And so my father raised all of us. It was 10 of us. I'm right in the middle.
10?
10. And I'm right in the middle.
You sure you're not Catholic? Oh, but you're Koji.
But we Church of God in Christ.
Okay.
Exactly. So
Okay.
we are always being fruitful and multiplying, right? That's part of our godly responsibility. Clearly, my parents didn't have cable back in the day either. So it was 10 of us, and my parents were also foster parents, and so I learned, service through the lens of, our responsibility to something greater than ourselves, and that's my faith. And as I begin to think about what my future, would entail and how I can contribute, I knew one thing, Mays, man, I did not want to be a pastor.
Man, I know that feeling.
And so I know you know that, right?
Preacher's kid, I know that feeling.
Didn't want to do that. And listen, probably for different reasons. I didn't want to become a pastor primarily because it's a non-union job.
Lord, here we go.
Hours suck. So I did the next best thing. I became a middle school teacher. Started organizing in Cabrini Green, USA. It's, consider it like a second home for me, if you will.
Now I gotta ask a question, bro.
All right, go for
Because
it.
here go the lick. Everybody that runs that's black came from Cabrini and started in Cabrini.
Didn't
Like,
come
I
from
feel
Cabrini.
like
No,
is that like the political starting ground? Like, I think I'm gonna be elected one day.
No,
So
for real.
let me get my tail over to Cabrini Green so I can put that on my resume.
Look, I was going to be an executive director for the YMCAs of Chicago, or the Boys and Girls Club. That's what I thought I was going to do, right? So I started working in New City. That's where I met, your dude, our dude now, Alderman Burnett, and got a chance to know that he was more than just an alder person.
Right.
I think I'm the only one, by the way, who still has his CD. So
I got it. I was the producer.
What, you the producer?
I was executive producer.
Okay,
I got
right.
it. We're going to pull up the video.
No, for sure. And so when I become mayor of Chicago, I already told him I'm playing his track.
Oh.
I'm playing his track, like
Okay.
right on the chamber. So anyhow, man, I became, an organizer, New City YMCA, youth development, youth programs. Then I taught middle school. I taught social studies at Jenner Academy, again, Cabrini Green, USA. Moved on to to teach at Westinghouse on the west side of Chicago, where my wife and I live. We're raising our 3 children there. And as you said, became an organizer, fought for a lot of different things, which I know we'll get into. And then fast forward, from the time that you met me, red hoodie and locks, and folks said, look, man, shave that down, bring it down, man. We think you can actually represent our people on the west side of Chicago, western suburbs. Ran for office here, RB.
Brandon, let me ask this then, Commissioner.
And listen, Brandon is fine, man,
Okay,
for real.
cool.
Yeah.
I gotta get to. I feel like you've made me comfortable enough to say Brandon,
Yep.
but I want to again stick with my rule, which is to try to make sure that we give people the respect of their earned success already. So, Commissioner, you are now, in my estimations, against all odds, running for mayor of the city of Chicago. When I first heard it, I was like, huh? I didn't get it. And it was my presumption that if there was going to be a candidate coming from the left, it would have been Chuy Garcia. Talk to me about this relationship, because I have renamed Stacey Davis Gates Stacey MF&G. And I hope that every time y'all see her, y'all be like, what's up, Stacey MF&G? Just like that. Talk to me about this pivot, right? Where there was the assumption that, I guess maybe from the Karen Lewis era, that we assumed that Chuy Garcia might be the candidate, but you have emerged, and quite frankly, I thought that there would be some waffling, but it seems like SEIU, which is a really interesting new power dynamic. Shout out to Greg Kelly, Stacey Davis Gates, who probably are 2 of the most powerful union organizers in the country at this point. Talk to me about how you guys got to the point of you deciding to run for mayor.
Yeah, I would add Diane Palmer, SEIU Local 73.
Yes, I'm sorry.
To that dynamic.
And
So
no
it's-
disrespect
No,
to
I know,
Diane
and I just, I know we're moving quickly. So look, I've struggled, with the labor movement here in Chicago. It's a very powerful history. Maze, as you know, again, I'm a social studies teacher, and I'm always reminded by the words of Dr. King, right? The labor movement and the civil rights movement, as he understood it, they were one and the same. But, labor struggled even 50 years ago, right, to be able to get down with civil rights. And his position was like, look, if labor rights and civil rights were to ever to collide, what enormous potential it would have. And I'm paraphrasing. And so, like, when it comes to the work that I've done in the city of Chicago and really throughout the country of building, the labor movement through the lens and through the guise of civil rights, and we're talking about like public accommodations, making sure that we're protecting, Black women in particular, who overwhelmingly make up the public sector workers. Like, that's been my struggle. That's my story. That's our story collectively in Chicago as Black folks. This is, something that we don't talk enough about. Dr. King's message began to shift when he began to challenge capitalism, particularly through the lens of how it treated workers, right? And we know why he was down in Memphis, which of course, at one of the greatest landmarks in the world. He was at a Church of God in Christ location, right?
Baptist preacher.
Well, listen, I am
Backslide.
but he went with the Church of God in Christ. Shout out to all of my Church of God in Christ brothers and sisters, and all of the trauma that we've experienced growing up. Like, I've spent more time on the altar than I have, anyhow. But no, man, like, real talk. So I think with that collective struggle, that people see a real opportunity to have someone who comes out of the working class community, that comes, right out of the faith tradition with that has been, a stability for our consciousness in this country, that I represent that, right? That's, again, my upbringing. My father, again, who was a laborer and a pastor, and that work that we have done collectively, fighting for Black children in particular, man. Like, I was in Black neighborhoods, man, when Black politicians were not defending Black children as schools were being defunded and closed. That was hard, right? And so how I emerged in all of this, again, I think is a direct response to the movement that we have built in this city. It hasn't been easy. Like, you talk about this a lot, Maze, and I appreciate you being vulnerable about it. A lot of times, man, like, what makes us enemies of the state, it's one thing. It's when you say Black, The moment you start saying black, that's when they begin to label you, try to discredit you, try to dismiss you, because we believe in the liberation of our people. And we're not even seeing our liberation as exclusionary. We're saying people benefit from our liberation, right? That we all get free. And so like that's the foundation that I stand on. Those are the principles that I live by. That's how I was raised. And that's what I'm going to bring to the fifth floor. That type of coalition that stood up against some of the most powerful forces politically on the planet. Rahm Emanuel was the former chief of staff to the first black president. We took him on. We had differing views than President Obama had on some of these economic desires that we have been pushing for. And it wasn't politically expedient. And so, as you said, when you met me, brother, man, I was wearing a hoodie and trying to make sure that working conditions and learning conditions could match, our ability to actually see, education achieved, particularly in our communities. And so, again, being in this position, if the Holy Spirit were to give me a pen and say, write out your future, I would not have done this. But I'm certainly glad to know that I'm here. And I'm going to represent our people well. And I'm going to be unapologetic about it.
So, man, Charlie. So this goes to my Chance the Rapper joint, right? This gets to the Chance the Rapper, the skateboarder cousin at the family reunion, right? And I know that I have colorful descriptions because I try to paint pictures that people can kind of see or identify with. So to me, the reason I call you my skateboarding Chance the Rapper cousin is because to me, you've always represented socialism. And I'm trying to make what you just got through saying, which resonates with me, jibe with the whole concept of socialism, especially knowing that, and I'm a little bit older than you, so I still remember Red Dawn. I still remember when it was an East Germany and a West Germany. And socialism was just a bad, bad, bad thing. How do I rationalize those two things? And are you a socialist?
So, well, first of all, I'm still tripping on like this whole Chance the Rapper skateboard.
So you
thing.
get the y'all get the Chance the Rapper.
Listen,
Look, you the proper talking cousin at the feather reunion, right? It's not a diss. Everybody loves. I don't think there's a black person in Chicago that does not love Chance and does not celebrate his success, right? Like I think you would not catch me wearing a 3 hat, but when Chance walk in the room, I'd be like, there go Chance. I'm proud of that brother, man. He make us proud. He ain't killing nobody. Like, we're proud of Chance.
Okay.
Now,
okay.
I probably got NWA in my tape deck. Well, listen to me. I'm really dating myself in my tape deck. Yeah. NWA in my tape deck. I got some Jay-Z, some Hove in the deck. On my iPhone. But it's like, Brandon, all that you just said is like the thing that makes me it's the same thing that makes me try to have this, has this internal conflict between socialism, Brandon, and having and electing you as a black man. Are you a socialist?
I'll address that. Look, first of all, I think it's clear that I represent the left wing of the Democratic Party, right? Like this. But let me just say this though, and Maze, I know you don't mean any disrespect by this.
Okay.
But if you look at the things that I'm fighting for and advocating for, what am I saying? I believe that public education should be guaranteed. It should not be left to a chance. No pun intended.
Okay.
So it should be guaranteed, right?
Yes.
W.E.B. Du Bois, he said, public education at the expense of the state, after all, is a Negro idea. Public education that we're advocating for, it's our idea. Like, we birthed it. It comes out of the struggle and the pain of moving out of subjugation and obviously marginalization and ultimately slavery, right? And so, like, when people label, I'll give you another example. Health clinics. Obviously, you know I'm a Cook County commissioner. I'm for the expansion of health clinics. We have those. We've expanded one since I've been in office. We've expanded the number of families who are on county care. I believe that health care is a human right. It's personal to me. I grew up with asthma. When my father lost his job, my mother had a rare heart disease. She died because we could not afford the medicine. I stood in the Fantas Clinic line. You know, you get on the blue line, you get there at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, you wait till the doors open at 7 o'clock, see a doctor at 8, and then you got to come back at night hoping that your number is called. And I saw our people in those lines, right? And so when I'm advocating for health care and making it a guaranteed right, it's a matter of life and death. Fred Hampton said health clinics, right? When we talk about public transportation, we go through the list of all public accommodations, whether it's health care, whether it's housing, whether it's education, whether it's jobs, all the things that we are advocating for through the lens of black liberation. One of the things that history has taught us, when black folks begin to advocate for those things, you dismiss it by calling it radical and extreme, and you put labels on it. Again, I know that's not what you're doing, but this is the result of a black man advocating for the things that our people have been fighting for and dying for, literally, for these dynamics to exist, and pushing the government to provide the type of economic security that we deserve. And then what you do is you look at those demands and you're threatened by the person who is making the demand. And the best thing that you can do is to try to diminish them, to label them. Now, look, I'll get to the question directly. Yes, I am a part of the left wing of the Democratic Party. Yes, I am. You know, but I'm not a socialist.
Okay.
So, but what I will say, though, is when it comes to public accommodations, and again, making things guaranteed, I'm tired of black women, black men, our existence being negotiated, Maze, and being left to a chance. It's about time that black people get some guarantee. That's why I'm running for mayor of Chicago, is to give our people a guarantee, not a simple chance. Our people should not have to have hand and hat in hand in order to be able to access a school. I live in Austin on the west side of Chicago, one of the most dynamic communities, but it is one of the most violent communities in Chicago. And so my wife and I wake up every single morning and we drive to Hyde Park to drop off the big boy. We drive to Portage Park to drop off the two little ones. And there's very little in our community that gives our children the guarantee that they're gonna have a music class, a soccer program, a baseball program, a science teacher. The system has deemed our children ineligible because they don't meet certain test scores, a system that they designed to prove our inferiority. Why would I accept that? I'm not. Our people deserve better. And that's why I'm running for mayor of Chicago, because our people deserve better. And so whether you label it extreme or radical, I'm used to that, right? That historically, that's what they have done to our demands. They have made our desire and the things that we should be guaranteed, they've made it impossible for our people to reach it. And then when we fight for it, they try to dismiss us. They try to close us down, shut us down, dismiss us. And I'm tired of that. I'm sick of it. Our people are dying and hurting, literally in the streets, dying and hurting. Maze, you're on the west side of Chicago. You drive down Madison. You see what our people in the conditions in which they're living in right now. That's some bull. And something has to change. And I believe we can build a coalition that brings liberation to our people. And however they want to label me or cast me, just call me mayor of Chicago. How about that?
I heard that. All right. See? Okay, I'm not even gonna call. See, he got a skateboard, but I'm saying I took the hat.
How come you didn't say pulpit? Like you could have said, brother, like
I
revving
was
up.
about to say.
Like
I
put
was
me
trying,
in A flat, dog. Put me in A flat. I can tune up in that key.
I was trying to put he could go back to preaching. Not go back, but go. Man, family, that was probably one of the best articulations of your position. Talk to me then, because you talked about this coalition, and you know one of my issues, right?
I know actually 8 of your issues, by the way.
Wait up. They all really revolve around the same thing. What's our cut? What's in it for the black people? But my big question is, with this coalition, there's a couple of them. The litmus test for us at BP1 right now is, what is your position on the right of undocumented immigrants to vote in municipal elections? I want to frame that with, right now, every person that Greg Abbott puts on a bus, every person that Ron DeSantis decides when he decides he's going to start flying them in here, will have a vote, potentially, in our school board elections. That was the negotiated compromise, undocumented. I think people should have a right to participate, have a say in their child's education. But I do question right now, what is your position on the right of undocumented immigrants to vote in municipal elections?
So my position is, pretty straightforward. Honestly, it's standard. There are certain rights that come with citizenship, and I believe those rights still should be protected. And so, I do certainly agree that, families who are, seeking refuge or just opportunity here in America, that there should be a pathway to citizenship. Like, I'm not mad at that, right? And I also recognize that, our democracy, for better or worse, was designed to provide like enfranchisement to individuals, of course, who have, the legal presentation of being here. I think that should be maintained. Now as far as, undocumented families having some say-so in the direction of our public schools, I think that's worth figuring out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're dropping your kids off. I don't believe that families, should be shut out of the ability to have influence. And it's why we fought for democracy, right? Because in Chicago, Maze, when you met me, one of the things that I was pushing for is for an elected representative school board. I organized all over the city of Chicago to bring that into fruition, and then had to lobby in Springfield and challenge some of my own friends who were being skittish about it. So I believe in the expansion of democracy, and in fact, at a time in which democracy is actually being eroded and voting rights are being curtailed and stuffed, we were able to actually expand that. That's the leadership that I bring to the city of Chicago, and I'm prepared to bring that once I'm mayor of Chicago. The disenfranchisement of our people, through keeping us out of the ability to influence our children's education. The fact that we have criminalized poverty, and that has had a real awful stain on black men in particular. Like, we have to continue to find real ways in which we, enfranchise people who have been marginalized by this, really, really jacked up system. So again, yes, I do, agree that we should have, a fair process to provide citizenship for people who want to be here. And if you do not have, or that if you don't have the citizenship status, then there are some limitations, right, to how you can participate. My goal is going to be, once I'm mayor of Chicago, is to find opportunities for families to be able to participate and influence. But again, to have the ability and the right to vote, we have to get folks on the path to citizenship so they can secure that.
Talk to me about, and this question is for Rosita, and I'm gonna combine it. Rosita Shatanda is she has been a fierce advocate for black teachers.
Yep.
And right now it seems as though black teachers are clearly on the decline in the city of Chicago. We also see that 1 in 4 black kids goes to an underperforming school, and we're last in all 16 economic indicators. One, what do you do to re-educate black children, and what would you do because one of the things my mom says is we're the only people who send our children to the enemy to be educated. Talk to me about how do we get our educational system back on track and bring black teachers back who may have been forced out of the system.
Yeah, so look, I met Rosita when I first started organizing. I have, a tremendous amount of respect for her. We've had our
run-ins.
Yeah.
Me too. We all do as black folks out here.
And that's cool, right? Like I said, man, I was raised in a household. It was 10 of us, dog. Look, some of the worst things I've ever heard came from my grandmother. And I think she loved me. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't ever take, and I probably should have probably thinner skin, but I just wasn't raised to overly personalize certain things. And so, to Rosita's credit, when I became an organizer, man, she gave me some real insight and some knowledge, on how I can conduct myself. And I'm not in this position if I don't take her advice. So the thing that we do agree on is that, the ominous decline of black educators, and this will get at your question. In order for us to have a real secure space, we have to have economic security. The best thing that my father ever did for us is that he had a W-2. He actually had multiple W-2s. Amazing, man. I don't want to make any assumptions, but my father's of a particular generation. I trust you can relate to this. Dude wasn't passing out high fives and hugs. I'm just saying.
Right.
I don't, that dude didn't smile until he had like grandchildren, which trips me out because it's like you were never that nice, right? You know, so like, but my daughter, Brayden, my 8-year-old, she's taking full advantage of his newfound like niceness. But having that economic security and stability. At the height of unionization in this country, the achievement gap, or the so-called achievement gap, between black and white students had nearly dissipated. I mean, it had narrowed to the point where it was almost gone. There's a clear indication to having 3-course meals and real economic stability to the ability to like figure out what a comma splice is and draw conclusions. Give you an example. So you know I taught in Cabrini. I know politicians bring Cabrini up like 800 times, but I did actually teach there. My students woke up in the morning, they could see the wealth of the city. They could see downtown from their back windows. Staring at them in the morning, though, Maze, were bulldozers preparing to destroy their public housing. And then they would show up in my classroom, as you put it, the proper brother, talking about, let's discuss the 5 causes of the American Revolution. You know what I'm saying? So you have this real wicked system where our students are waking up every single day, our parents are waking up every single day, and the economy that they're saying that we should pursue is behind them, or it's behind us. And we're running down chasing an economy that's behind us, and everything in front of us is crumbling. Like, again, that's why I'm running for mayor of Chicago. That type of wicked system where you have one of the wealthiest places at the richest time in history. No one should be too poor to live in Chicago. No one should be too poor to live anywhere, right? And so the way we help provide the type of economic security that our people deserve is that public sector in particular, and particularly for black educators, we have to be intentional about growing our own, investing and challenging the General Assembly to invest in programs that actually encourage black folks to go into the teaching profession. And then, you know, one of the one reasons why black teachers leave the profession outside of being forced out is because they don't have enough autonomy. Like, black folks, we are naturally creative. So look, I had a lesson plan, Maze. That's what I turned in. I mean, you have a lesson plan, and then once you get behind the microphone, man, you flow, right? And so a lot of black educators, man, were being forced to teach to a test that was doing nothing for our children. And so I'm gonna push back a little bit on just your description of our children. It's not so much that they are attending underperforming schools. The vast majority of our children are attending schools that are not funded. And that's been intentional. And so we are measuring our children's success based upon a rubric or a standard that we're never gonna meet. And here's what I mean by that. I taught a lesson about a homeless family. And the short answer question was, what was the attitude of Teresa in the story? All of my students that year, 7th grade, got the answer wrong. So I'm like, well, look, I must have done something wrong. Everybody got it wrong. So I asked, I'm like, what was Teresa's attitude in the story? One of my students raised their hand and said, Teresa didn't have no attitude, Mr. Johnson.
What?
The word attitude in our community means that she got a chip on her shoulder.
Right.
She was very pleasant. And so when they heard the word attitude, they automatically assumed that was she nasty?
Oh.
You understand what I'm saying, right? And so like children are getting questions wrong just based upon their interpretation of the language. And so what I'm saying is, give economic security to our families, right? Provide the type of economic structure that our families deserve and need. That is going to help reduce the achievement gap because you don't have students waking up every single day hungry, homeless, and not supported and loved. The vast majority of black students who attend public schools live in homes that are headed by black women. If we're not investing in black women, you can't say that you love our children and you hate their mothers. I mean, you can, but it's a lie. I'm running to become mayor of Chicago is to make sure that black women are protected. You ain't wrong about that, brother. And I appreciate you being vulnerable in this space because there's not a lot of spaces where black men can be vulnerable. I send my children off and I drop them off at school. And one of the hardest feelings that you have as a parent is not knowing if you can protect them. When my wife leaves the home, she is 7 times more likely, 20 times more likely, just name it. You just more likely to have a bad day when you black in Chicago. That sucks, Maze. And the political structure in this city has tolerated that for generations. I'm not tolerating it anymore. And so, yes, your cousin with his skateboard is riding through the city of Chicago to bring a revival. Let the church
Say amen. All right, man. So, man, Charlie, so the challenge now I got, and I got to be honest with you, you make it very hard to dislike you. So I'm not. No, I'm saying, I come in ready to be like, grr, and it is one of the reasons why I feel like every time we have something, I just be like, man, you should just come meet some people. I just want to make sure that everybody has a fair opportunity to make their own decision, not based on preconceived notions. But now I gotta ask you, fam. And I kind of led with this in the beginning. How do you win this race with what essentially seems to be your base split? Never in a million years would I have thought that the other candidate would go against CTU or SEIU or all of those other things. And now that we see Local 150, which is, it seems like the House of Labor is now going to be divided. What's your path to victory, my brother?
As I said, I'm very humbled by this position and opportunity that has presented itself. And I have a family thread, by the way. I don't know if I'm sure you got a family thread. And in our family thread, it's a remarkable space. Like if one of my siblings wanted to really ruin my life, they could just share those text messages. So I'm really monitoring my brother Aaron. He's the most likely, but it's always the one you don't expect.
What'd you say to me?
Exactly, right. And so they the other day ago that actually came up in the text thread, because they understand the politics and the nature of the work that I do. And so when, other folks, hopped in, they like, yo, fam, like what's the deal on this, right? And, for me, you look at the coalition that is forming around me. You mentioned, SEIU 73, it's black workers. HCII, black workers. You look at Cook County College's teachers union, right? These are professors in many instances, man, are working 2 or 3 different gigs just to make ends meet. And they're embarrassed to tell their families that they're struggling because they have PhDs. But these jobs don't pay. They don't. When we think about the plight of the Chicago Teachers Union and the organizing that I've done, always taught in black schools, always organized in black schools. Like I'm in black communities trying to save schools and trying to make sure that we're protecting workers, right? And particularly black workers especially. To have the support of the northwest side of Chicago, many of whom people would have expected that they would have gone in a different direction. To have the support of someone like Delia Ramirez and Jeanette Taylor, and even someone like a Will Guzzardi, there is no other candidate that has the burden, and I don't mean this in a harsh way, of building a coalition. Everyone else is going to run, quite frankly, either gender-based, they're going to run on, how they are, determined or affiliated in any particular way, or they might even run, with a nationalistic perspective. I get to run on a black liberation theology because that's what raised me. And yet somehow black, brown, white, Asian folks, labor, the business community, there are a number of folks that are beginning to surround my candidacy because they see the hope in it. Let me just slow down for a second, if you just will indulge me. There's no other candidate, I believe, in this race that thinks about the conditions of the city of Chicago the way my wife and I have to think about it. I said we're in Austin. We love it, Maze, but you know what goes down over there. And my wife and I just changed a window from one of the bullets that have come through our home. Like, I know what it's like as a parent, man, to shield your children as the heat is popping on the block. I'll never forget a few years ago, right before the first day of school, I'm in my bedroom chilling. My wife is in the bathroom. We can see each other from across the hall. Our children are congregating in the little kids' room. And then it just starts to just go wild on the block. Like rapid fire, like pop, 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 pop. I look at my wife she looks at me like the look on my wife's face, the terror. We hit the ground. I'm crawling to my children's bedroom, thinking it is our turn to be on the news. I don't know what I'm going to see when I get in there, but I'm bracing myself for the worst. And so as I'm crawling to my children's bedroom, I can hear my children screaming as the bullets just continue to fly on the block, right outside our home. And I see them in the deepest corner in the bedroom covered. And I'm running over there to cover them. The pain, the anguish, the anger, the fear of what could happen. That's my day-to-day, Maze. And so when you ask me about my pathway, there is no more. This is the most urgent moment, I believe, in our country, and particularly for the city of Chicago, where the wealth of this country moves through this city and black children have to take cover before the first day of school, and black parents have to dread the moment when gunfire goes off in the community, if this is our turn. And you know what the worst part about all of that was that night? We just went back to bed, Maze. No news. Police barely came and taped up the area, and it went away, but it doesn't go away. My pathway to victory is moving through every single community and telling the story that what my wife and I want for our three children, 8, 10, and 14, well, the big boy just turned 15. 8, 10, and 15. What we want for our family, we want for every single family in the city of Chicago. And I'm going to run on that, Maze, that the people who dither, or the people who want to reduce our work and our pain and struggle to a freaking hashtag, that's some bull. And our people deserve better. And some of these real, puerile forms of discussion that are not only just immature, that it doesn't get at the root causes of what we're struggling to deal with every single day, that is not just shameful and irresponsible, but it is tired and lame. And my pathway is to move from every single corner of this city and be unapologetic about the people who have been marginalized the most, which are our people, our communities. That you don't lose because black people win. You don't lose because black people have the ability to go to a school. That black people have an opportunity to work. That black folks can take the bus and the train without the fear of being harmed. That black children are not deemed ineligible because you have snatched everything from us. That we actually can have housing that's affordable. My wife and I bought a house for $150,000. We have 6 freaking degrees between the two of us. And we still needed 2 government programs to buy that house. And I'm the first person in my family to purchase one. And now there are homes that are going for $500,000 in Austin. Look, as mayor of Chicago, I can't afford that. I buy a house for $500,000. I can't afford it. I'm a public school teacher. And if I can't afford to live in the city of Chicago, and if people like us, Maze, don't have a shot, and again, I appreciate you telling your story. If J.B. Pritzker, I know that's a trigger on this show, his campaign manager got punched in the face in Streeterville. Look, this is happening all over the city of Chicago, and it is whack. You have this system that has been used as a tool of violence against our people, and we have to disrupt those systems, and we can do it in a way without people feeling like they're going to lose. The fact that people are afraid of my politics, it speaks to the legacy of what we fight for in the city of Chicago. Why are you afraid of black people having a guaranteed education? What are you really afraid of?
So give me that. So let's do it right there. Let's jump right there. Give me your 3 biggest policy positions that will impact black people directly.
Yeah, the first thing we have to do is that we do have to deal with the harm and the pain, the frustration that violence has done to our people.
So are you defunding the police?
The Chicago Police Department is well funded. It is. Look, Maze, it's like, what is it, like at $2 billion? They're well funded. So let's just cut to that. what we do have is a real problem in leadership within the police department. Look, I'm a public worker. So when police officers talk about how frustrated it is to work in the city of Chicago, I feel them. Because police officers roll up on scenes much like what teachers experience, man. Some of that stuff, man, that ain't, it is unusual. And I'm not even trying to be like disparaging to our people. I've seen trauma in the classroom. I've seen the manifestation of that. And so what we have to do is that we have to place the front line with the support that it needs. 50% of calls right now are domestic issues. These aren't police issues. There are more police officers per capita in this city than anywhere else in the world. What I'm saying is we have spent more on policing and I'm still covering my children and there are gunshots that are firing. And when my son, who just determined to ride his bike everywhere through Austin, I got to find out which route he taken, which he ignores. You got a son, Maze. They don't listen.
Right.
And so it's funding what works. Look, I live it every single day. One of the things that I'm going to fund, the summer of 2023, when I'm sworn in, I'm asking every single alderman, I'm starting with the black ones, send me names. We're going to make sure that black children have employment in the summer. We're going to extend it and make it year round. So like I'm tripping here a little bit because my father made me and my brother Jeremy, who was closest to me, he made us work in the summer. He never paid us, Maze. You hear the hurt in my heart still? It's a different generation. Like we work all summer and then we finally looking to get a paycheck. He like, did you eat? That is really unfair. You had a roof over your head, didn't you? Mm-hmm. That stuff was bogus. What I'm saying is let's sign these children up. The Park District, streets and sanitation. Let's give them a taste of overtime. Let's get them a check on Friday when they come to work on Monday. Let's make sure there's something there for them that connects them to the city. Let's get them invested. I'm going to ask our older persons downtown. You're worried about black children coming downtown? Well, let's convince these businesses to give them something to look forward to. You put something on it, I'll put something on it. Let's hire these young people, put them in a position to actually gain employment and experience purpose. The second thing that we have to do in terms of this first issue is that you actually have to have people who show up on scenes who are trained to deal with them. West side of Chicago, Quantonio LeGrier, right? Betty Jones. They're alive today if a social worker is on that scene. Our brother Quantonio was having a mental health crisis, and the only tool that was on the scene was a gun, and it was used. Reopening our mental health clinics to provide that type of support on the front line. The second thing is we address public safety, because that is the number one thing, and I'm going to stop at nothing until we actually figure that out and reduce it. The second thing is we have to invest in education. The business of Chicago has to be the business of people. We have some of the most talented people who are working in the city of Chicago. If we don't have a fully funded education system that actually works in a way that places our children with the opportunity, not to just to go to college, but to pick up the trades that people are fighting for as infrastructure is being established in this city, as it's being built, our people have to be able to participate in that. My father, not just a pastor, a public employee, he was a general contractor. I didn't pick up any of that. Like, I'll never forget one time, Maze, my father had me putting up some drywall. This dude was so harsh, man. And so he gives me the leveler. You seen the leveler with the little green solution in the middle? And he fussing at me about it because I don't know how to use it. I'm 10. You know what he says to me? What are they teaching you in that school, son? That's what he asked me. I'm 10 years old. Like it's a leveler. They're not teaching us drywall. But I had brothers and cousins and classmates that they would build homes before they graduated. Investing in public education, which includes the trades, is the big deal. It's the third thing. Got to be able to afford to live in this city. We do. We have to make housing affordable. We have to actually have a commitment to public housing. I think it's both and. You know, I'm not saying that people can't make a profit off of selling homes. I'm saying if we don't have jobs that keep up with the growth of homes, our folks will continue to get pushed out. And policies have pushed black people out. I've said, you know, the Negro Removal Act, which has been in full effect for some time, that we had incentive, my wife and I, for down payment support, as long as we committed to staying in the community. And we are committed to staying in the community. And when I'm mayor of Chicago, it's been a long time since we had a mayor with a West Side address. We get to make history.
All right, so we got to wrap it. But I do have couple things I want to hit before we go. First of all, let's go back to the Black and Brown Coalition. Is this trustworthy? Can we really trust? Here we say we don't really have any allies. I think last night was a perfect example of it, but it was also a perfect example of having communication, right, and being able to say, "Hey, yo," but and I thought about Alderman Rosa Ramirez and his unnecessary tweet. It made me think about the vulnerability of Black people, but particularly Black women in general, when nobody is looking. Do you really think we can trust people like Carlos Rosa Ramirez when given it's not what you do when people are watching, but when they're not? And so talk to me about, because I think most Black folks a significant amount of people in my audience have trust issues when it comes to the Latino community and their real, true genuineness. And I seen the Delia Ramirez piece, right? But I also saw her say that the Democrats are blowing it with Latinos. How do we make sure that our interests align and that the people that you're encouraging us to build in this coalition are really our allies?
Look, in any relationship, you have to spend time together. You have to have like the tough, hard conversations, like, the ones that you continuously have, and they hold us accountable and they make us stronger. Like, people have lived experiences and different things trigger them. It does require a level of humility from everyone to be able to look people in the face and to be direct and honest about the type of harm that we've experienced. So my wife and I, we're going to celebrate 25 years next year.
All right.
We were pretty young when we got married. If my daughter came to me the way I came to my in-laws, I would have a problem, honestly. I was probably too young to get married. It actually was irresponsible to get married that young. But 25 years, which, by the way, when I'm mayor of Chicago, if you all can keep this a secret, we're going to have a big surprise 25th wedding anniversary for my wife. So don't tell nobody yet.
You have police escort? You don't have a detail? Be careful.
No,
we
won't. We're gonna have, we're definitely gonna have like African, drummers and dancers. By the way, I don't know if it's gonna do Zamunda theme or Wakanda theme. I'm not sure. One of them, but in our relationship over the course of these 25 years, like it is built on trust, and sometimes, Maze, even being in a relationship, that sometimes there's still rub, right? Because there are things that she brings to the experience that are different than mine. My wife is an only child, and I'm one of 10. So there are times where it's like, my wife is like, why are we sharing all of that? Like, that's my life, right? And so I guess what I'm getting at, that it's not just the institution of marriage. It's the relationship that you have to work through that to want to be together. We are all in this thing, whether we like it or not. We're all in this city together and we're all struggling. The challenge, of course, that we have is like, how vulnerable and how willing will people be to be able to take a step back and even allow or give support to Black leadership? The hope that I have in this moment, any one of them could have said it's them. They said, look, we understand that the Latinx community in particular has missed out on opportunities in this country. And even with many of the folks who are supporting me, who believe that, they still believe that their pathway to experience the type of economic security that we all want, they believe that a Black man is the right person to lead that coalition. That in and of itself is remarkable. Most folks wouldn't be that humble, as we can see. And so if they're willing to trust me and not put themselves up and say, look, we trust that your voice is going to speak, to all of our communities, that you're unapologetic about the community that raised you. And we trust that in the midst of that leadership, we're not going to lose. That is one of the greatest examples of humility. It's not so much that they're doing me a favor. Don't get me wrong, right? Like, they picked me because any one of them could have said, I'm doing it. They didn't. And they said emphatically, brother, it's you. And even when they were pressured by their own community to show some of the nationalistic solidarity that I think in many instances prevent us from having the type of conversations that we're having this morning. They said, no, we good. We rocking with Brandon. And so now everybody has skateboards now.
Okay. All right. This is my last one.
All right.
And then we're going to let you get a close. You know, one of my big concerns about the left wing of the Democratic Party, look,
Here we go.
is economics, right? So I look around and so I'll be honest with you. I've been to Hillary Clinton fundraisers. I've been to Bill Clinton fundraisers. I've been to Obama fundraisers. I've been to a Trump fundraiser. Can I tell you what? They're all the same. They're all the same, right? The people at those fundraisers are trying to figure out how they make money. How they make money. And all of us are down here fighting over the crumbs, etc. How, as mayor of the city of Chicago, will you ensure that black people participate in the economic largesse of this city? What not just and what happens is our conversations get over dominated by construction, etc. Nobody's talking about we got the first black owned crane company in the city of Chicago. We have people that are lawyers, doctors, professional services, manual labor, etc. There's this domination of our conversation, and oftentimes it goes straight to the returning citizens and how are we going to make sure that community is great, which I'm great. We have great advocates, Tyrone and all of those guys. But how do people like myself, right? Because I'll be honest with you. I look at you and this is not going to be politically correct, but how many times have we seen a whole black family? Like a whole one. Just a whole one. Like, and you talk about the economics, and when I look at a whole black family, I say we striving to get to middle class, but I look at whole white families and whole Latino families in this city, plugged, they're at a whole different stratosphere that we don't even see. And the way or the path to that has often been not through the black community or through black people, but aligning yourselves with white folks. How do we, because I'm really not interested in, there's a lot of issues that you talked about that aren't mine, and they have been mine as the host of this morning show, but I'm leaving, right? Because I want to participate. How do we participate in the economic largesse of the city, and how will you as mayor make that happen?
Yeah, so, thank you for just lifting up my family, because it means a lot to me. My wife and I, 25 years next June, and Braden, Ethan and Owen, 8, 10, and 15. Like that's that's our investment, right? There's nothing that I wouldn't do to protect them and provide for them. And obviously my wife at the top of the food chain. This is the question, Maze.
What's in it for the black
Yeah, I know.
people?
That's what I know where it's going. Like, this is the question, right? I'm the only person in this race that has literally built and proposed an entire budget built around black people. It's actual legislation, budget for Black lives.
Where can I see that?
Man, it's Legistar, right? But I'll send you a copy of it.
Send us a copy of it.
Yeah, I have the entire budget built. I'm the only, listen, if someone else has done it, then I apologize. But I'm the only person who put together the entire budget for the county, which is one of the largest budgets in the entire world. And I did it on purpose, Maze. And not just because of this question, because this is a matter of life and death. Look, I'm not downplaying everything that I've said: education, healthcare, mental health care, transportation. But here's our most famous saying: at the end of the day, if I can't secure my family economically and I don't see a trajectory in which I have the ability to grow, people begin to doubt the system, and they doubt whether or not it's worth participating in it. And as our people doubt, as black people hurt, this country hurts. We are the soul and the consciousness of this country. We always will be. The question of what to do with the Negro has been the prevailing question from the time in which our people were snatched and brought here. And so I built that budget. And I said, we have to prioritize black lives. Now, of course, it was hard to get a vote on it, but I wanted to have the discussion. And so what came from it? The entire equity plan, in terms of how we spend ARPA, the federal dollars that have come down to the county, is all centered around the budget for Black Lives ordinance and resolution that I put forward. It's over $100 million available in the equity plan that is not just not there to be appropriated by county commissioners and the office of the president. There's actual seats at the table so that black folks can participate on where those dollars go. So what does it look like so far? We have the largest guaranteed income in the world, $42 million, as a result of the budget for Black Lives. We have...
How long will it last, though? Is it going to be continued funded?
It is going to be continued to be funded.
Okay.
We have the largest investment in violence prevention as a result of the budget for Black Lives ordinance that I put forward.
Back up.
Yes.
So let me go to violence prevention.
I know.
Because when we talk about violence prevention,
I feel you, man.
Man, we're going to be talking about all the Latino service agencies getting the money, right? And this makes me go back to if you were mayor and we're building this Black and Brown coalition. Do you recall when the black folks was under assault?
I heard about it.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it was a real thing, right? Okay. It was a real thing where black people were being assaulted by Latinos who were hired with our violence prevention dollars. And some of your co-county commissioners, et cetera, came to the defense of those good families who were protecting their neighborhoods. How would you have dealt with that as mayor?
So if I'm aware and there's like...
What's your black pulse? Where do you get your black pulse from?
I get you saying. Look, I get it from this, the same space that we all get it from. I mean, some of it is just like it's intuition, right? And so, like when you get provoked, I understand like the black manism in you. Like every day I wake up, man, I'm turning more and more into my father. It's a little scary at times, but I get why like dude was mad. You know what I'm saying? It's like he couldn't explain his day. Sometimes, man, my kids like, Dad, how was your day? And I'm just like, we got to it. You know what I'm saying? And so, being aware of that type of treatment, it's no different than, it's no different than the treatment of Anjanette Young. I'm coming to the defense of our people, Maze. I mean, I just cut to it. And so with the violence prevention money, not enough, but we got $75 million, 25 of it came to the first district alone.
Okay.
Organizations on the west side of Chicago that's dealing with homelessness, organizations that are dealing with mental health, the My Alpha Project, for instance, Reverend Hatch, his son Hatch Jr. is doing an amazing job. They were part of that. David Todd Whitley, know him from back in the day. He's doing some work on the west side of Chicago, right? And so I think the third component of the dollars that are appropriated, we have put forth millions of dollars to cancel up to $1 billion in medical debt. That's what's killing black people. It really is. It's not just not having access to health care, it's that we can't afford it. And so we lose our homes. Now look, Maze, I'll be the first one to tell you, whatever we do, it ain't enough. I think politicians, we pat ourselves on the back too much. It ain't enough. I'm constantly pushing. And so when you ask what's in it for the black people, the simplest way that I can put it is that there's a table that will be in my room as the mayor of Chicago. Black people get to help set the table. And I've shared this with you before. I'm not trying to create a fight on your show this morning. We like grits. Now, I ain't about to have a fight if you want sugar or salt on your grits. I'm saying that for black people, if you like sugar, the sugar to be there. If you want salt, for you greedy saints, if you want cheese and shrimp all in it as well, that stuff's going to be available. Because as mayor of Chicago, Maze, what I think we have to take out of this conversation and what we have to do as a people, we fight over this idea of a piece of the pie instead of figuring out how to make multiple pies. Because whatever pie that's available, to your point, that may not be my thing, right? For someone else, it's like I want the pie around education. For other folks, it might be around economic development or cranes or contracts, whatever it is, or healthcare. I'm saying that we have allowed people to make us believe that there's only one pie. And you know better than most folks. It's more than one pie, Maze. You know it. You've seen it. And I'm saying We're going to make that available to people. Now, look, we're going to have to tussle and fight a little bit. Like I said, I've come from a family of 10. We fight all the time. We were just fighting over the menu for Thanksgiving. It's the same one. Don't have it at my house. And my sister's got to bring the greens. That's it. You do that, I'm good.
Look, man. They like, turn it off. End it. What? Hey, boy. You see? Look. See?
I'm famous now.
Look.
They calling me.
Hold on. That boy good. Look, y'all, this is the Mace Jackson Show. I'm going to tell you like this. I don't 100% agree with all the politics. But I don't think that there's anybody that I 100% agree with the politics. I think that I've had the opportunity, and Brandon, Commissioner, we would like to host a black debate, right? I think that right now the black vote essentially is 29%. It's really going to be divided by 8 unless you knocking people off the ballot. How many people y'all knocking off? You ain't picking on J-Maw. Look, somebody probably call you something. I got J-Maw right now. Look, anyway, I'm going to let that be.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Anyway.
Oh, God, I love politics. Y'all. That's why I got to go play in it some more. But what we'd like to do is I don't believe that if there are 8 candidates in the race, that channel 2, 5, 7, 9, 32, any of the preconceived organizations that have always put their finger on the scale for the incumbent should really lead this conversation. I don't think I should lead it either because I got issues too. But I do think that there needs to be a day where black candidates can get in the room all together for a competition of ideas and let black people hear from you. If you got if there is an hour debate on TV with just the 8 black candidates, right? Yeah. You're not going to get more than 5 or 6 minutes, and people are going to be making that decision. So what we like to do, and I'm going to say this. This was not the break Brandon down conversation. This was y'all need to be introduced to my cousin, right? He's at the barbecue. Like, I will honestly say that in my interaction with you, and I'm going to be honest with y'all, I had him in front of some white folks, and he was talking the same way in front of the white people too. And some pretty high-ranking white people or pretty wealthy white people in the premise that I just want to make sure that I do right throughout this process. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that he was willing to have these same black liberation conversations. Now, I ain't all inclusive. And I do also want to tell you, right? Yesterday, y'all know what I was talking about this morning, and I have a whole section for Alderperson Ramirez. But when I talked about Jay Prince, I reached out to the brother, and I think this is important for us to have communication. As a black man, I felt like my wife was under assault. I reached out to Brandon like, this your man? You know how the movie go. This your man's? This your man's? Of which he was pretty responsive pretty quickly, and I do believe that the tweet was removed. Now, you know me, right? I want the apology, right? You was bad enough to put it out there. Let's have the apology. Let's go meet some black people and talk about sensitivity to black women. Let's do the whole trip. Because remember, Ramirez Rosa was one of the people that was writing the letters against me with the Latinos. Remember? Then he did the LGBT one too. So he wrote 2 letters in the process. However, when I said Jay Prince, I reached out to my man and I said, look, man, I'm over here minding my business. Got my chain on. I'm not trying to be in no altercations. I'm not in the mob ties thing. And I actually think that this is an opportunity for you to reach out. And I just want to see how you would respond if it was a black woman when we saw a black woman under assault. Dr. Johnson, and that's one of the terms that I affectionately share with Dr. Wilson too. But it's one of the terms of affection that we share a lot of times when we're having these conversations. And Dr. Johnson reached out to me. I didn't see the text because, I'd be in my zone in the morning. But at 4 o'clock this morning or 5 o'clock this morning, he had informed me that the text had been rescinded. And my wife sent me some emoji with some hearts, which made her feel probably like, damn, my husband can help me, right? And I thought it was a great moment of camaraderie where, you know, my instinct was, man, if we did it at that moment, we gon'. And it was great to have the camaraderie of a brother just to be able to say, hey, fam, get your people. And that, to me, went a very, very, very long way. I also thank you all that you, especially BP1 people, Brandon, Commissioner Johnson has availed himself, and I'm sure he will avail himself to you and your questions, and has never denied an opportunity or an invitation, whether we agree or disagree. So I just want to make sure that he gets that credit as well. Hey, and we got to get that concert over at Obsidian. I seen the drum. I had James Matthews tune up the drum set. So you gonna get your Kojic. You was the Kojic drummer.
So I was, but here's the problem though. It was a bunch of us, man. So I was not at the top of the food chain. My cousin.
You did youth choir on third Sunday.
Come on, man. Why you doing that to me?
Hey, man,
Like,
I tried to be in the choir as the preacher's son. They told me you should join the usher board.
Oh.
Yeah,
I mean, ushers are great. I mean, I think David said he would rather be a doorkeeper, even if he was just in the presence of God. So there's nothing wrong with that. And I do understand when you get the usher assignment.
Amen.
Hey, dog, you can't hold a key or a beat.
Now,
If you talking about me, then I'm Chance. So who are you then, brother? If you can't clap or sing.
I cannot clap or sing. And neither
So
one.
yeah, I did play the drums. I still do. Yeah, I want to get over there. That'd be a lot of fun. Let's figure that
Well,
out.
you make sure you know what you probably jump down. We having a holiday celebration.
I saw.
And you better
be
should
there.
probably stop by Stephanie Coleman's too as you're
I'm gonna
making
be there.
rotation.
sure.
All right, y'all. This is the Maze Jackson Show. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. We have Brandon Johnson. Okay, we got one call on the line. It's probably more than one, but we'll take this one call and then we're gonna let him go.
I get a close too.
Oh, you get it close.
And
One
then-
call.
And I do agree that we should have a full debate. Like if you get Tyrone Muhammad,
Ty, what's
be-
up,
to-
dog?
to be the
No,
moderator?
he can't be the moderator
But
because
he
he
got-
gonna try to out rap you, dog. Look, I can't
or-
let Ty on the show. If I let Ty, like if Tyrone Muhammad called right now,
yeah.
he would not. You wouldn't get a close because he'd talk all the way through it.
Here's the thing though: if Tyrone does moderate
Mm-hmm.
the debate, he's got to bring his poodle. That's a shot fire, ain't it? That's a shot fire. Hey Tyrone, man, you good, dog? I just don't, I don't get it. And I love Tyrone.
Why these big dudes we get these little? Hey, come here, Poochie Pooch. Come on, let's go to the live line. Call you on the Maze Jackson Show. You get your chance to ask Brandon Johnson one question, and then he's gonna make it short, and then I'm gonna let him get a close. What's up, caller?
How you doing, bro? How you doing, Commissioner Johnson? Thank you again for coming on the show and making yourself available to the What's in It for the Black People family. Thank you, sir, for that.
What up, devil?
My
Go ahead.
question, my question is really, this would be a really good fastball down the plate for you. How do we improve black male leadership within CPS, and how do we improve the literacy rates of black students within the Chicago public school system? Thank you all and have a good day, family. I'll end
Look, hey, and he ain't even talking no craziness about the Bears. Shout out to Devo for keeping it tight. Go ahead, Commissioner.
So real quick, I mean, first of all, we have to actually love black boys and black children, right? If we look at suspension rates and how black boys are treated in the public school system, it's no wonder that there's not as much of a desire to become one. Now, here's the interesting thing, though, brother, is that when you go on college campuses, and this was a hard lesson that I learned when I became a teacher 15 years ago. My principal reminded me, like, look, you got to be on every single day because these boys are watching you. When you go on a college campus and you talk to the athletes, or you just talk to the brothers, no matter if they're athletes or, music students, whatever, business students, in many instances, most of black boys who go to get degrees, they want to go into human services. They want to be social workers. They want to be counselors. They want to be teachers. I know it's fascinating, but I understand it though, because think about, you tell black boys when they're kids, stop all that crying, man up. And then when they get in 6th grade and they don't want to talk, you wonder how come you ain't saying nothing. Open up. You know what I'm saying? Tell me how you feeling, right? And so like we actually have to have like a system that actually loves black boys. And so with that, I'm going to actually advocate strong, not just for our community colleges, for our universities, to become more intentional about our black boys finding careers that directly service our people. And it doesn't mean that you can't move on to become a business owner. AJ, dude's barbershop, hair salon is right next to my office on North Avenue. He was a social worker at Westinghouse. And then now he's got a restaurant that he just opened on that strip. He's got his salon. He's doing some other stuff on
Wait,
the west
AJ
side.
from AJ's?
AJ.
With
yeah,
AJEF?
Exactly.
Dang,
Yeah.
I didn't even know
See
AJ was
that?
still kicking it.
He's still kicking it, building business, and started off as a social worker. Maze. So I think, to our brother's question, there's a real opportunity for our black boys to engage, go into social human services, and still fulfill that entrepreneur spirit. That's my position.
Hey, man. All right. I am going to give you the opportunity to give us a close.
Well, again, thank
You
you.
got a minute.
Yeah, for real. Thank you for the opportunity, for real. And you know, the thing that I was thinking about throughout this entire conversation is like what our experiences are as black people in the city of Chicago, and the frustration that we have. So I talked about my family text thread, and in the midst of that text thread, especially during the holidays, we were thinking about our oldest brother, Leon. Leon, my hero, my big brother, one of the top wrestlers in the state of Illinois, plays the saxophone, could sing, had a long Jerry curl. Like, he was my idol. By the way, you know, my mother did hair, so if things get real bad, I can still do that.
You do hair?
Blue rods, neutralized. That's back in the day, right? And so my brother's my hero, man. And so what the problem though was Leon had like untreated trauma, and he began to numb his pain by using drugs. And with Leon, you know, my brother left the earth unhoused, with a bad drug addiction and a mental health condition that was never treated. We were simply just told to go to the altar and pray. I wonder how much different my life would be, my nieces, my niece, my nephews, if Leon would have had treatment and not have his trauma exacerbated, you know, by disinvestment and the stigma that exists within our communities and just society as a whole. As our brother asked, like, how do we better develop black leadership, and particularly for men? We have to have spaces that our people have the ability to heal and not have our harm exacerbated. My brother left this earth from an overdose, unhoused, and untreated. The conditions in our community haven't been treated. As mayor of Chicago, you give me the opportunity to lead this city, I'm gonna lead with that impetus, that our people actually experience real treatment, and that we're gonna come to a real reckoning around the trauma that has been exacerbated by these systems that continue to keep us out. I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be open, I'm gonna work harder than anybody else. I have more incentive than anyone else in this race for this city to work. My oldest son, his third week in school, one of his classmates at Kenwood went out for lunch and was murdered. His life is gone, and my son's life will never be the same. He was looking forward to becoming a Bronco because he wanted open campus. And he said, "Dad, I'm good. I'll pack my lunch." We shouldn't have to negotiate our safety. I'm becoming mayor of Chicago to give our people a guarantee, and I'm asking you to vote for me. Thank you, Mason.
Hey, y'all. That was Brandon Johnson, whose people probably texted him and said, "Hey, Joe, we said a half hour. Don't be getting up there getting uncomfortable. You did a whole hour and a half." No, you did an hour. Shoot, almost an hour and a half. Real quick, when will you go up on TV, Brandon? I do, excuse me, Commissioner. I do think that you have a very, I feel like somebody grandma gonna be like, "That boy make me proud," right? My concern for you, real talk, is name recognition, path. And I am concerned with labor getting cold feet. So my big question is, when do you go up on TV? Because that to me means they put the marker down and they ain't got no back out room. Tell me when I should expect to see the Brandon Johnson, because I do think that it's important for black people, even though with 8 candidates, we only got 4%, 3. We have not seen a whole black family on TV in, no shade, I don't want any letters. I'm just saying, I do think that there is something to black people seeing a nuclear family. It's almost like we've put that piece to shame. Talk to me about when I'll see TV, and then I'll let you go.
real soon. I mean, look, we're raising the money, and that's the Maze. The hard part about this is, You know, my friends are teachers. They
Socialist.
drive buses. You know, my friends work in hospitals, so you know they writing checks for $50, $100. We're getting there. Like we're almost at $2 million.
Okay.
You know, we're gonna keep raising it, and folks are gonna get a chance to know me. They're gonna get to know my life. They're gonna get to, like, you know, experience, you know, what motivates me, and that really is my family. And let me just say this, and thank you for acknowledging my family, and thank you for the sensitivity around it, because, you know, my children, man, I'm just dad. I don't even have a name.
Trust me,
You know what
it's
I'm saying?
crazy when you break
you
up
know?
and it's yes.
So my children, I feel like my name is Mommy Said, because that's how they approach me. They're like, "Hey, Mommy Said." I'm like, "Okay," right? And so we're going to tell that story, right? And we know that, again, you know, many of the households that are headed in Black Chicago are headed by Black women, and know that, you know, just like you love your wife, I love my wife. I love our sisters. I was raised, you know, by Black women, and we're gonna tell that story. We're gonna raise money, and you know, you're gonna have me on your show every week.
All right, so that's fine. You know, but we ads costs. So hey, put us. Hey man, we want all the commercials. Shoot 20 commercials, and we want to run them all for a small fee. Hey y'all, this is the Mace Jackson Show. Brandon, I gotta close, but I do want to, excuse me, Commissioner, and it ticks me off that I get comfortable. But it has been a great conversation. You know, I feel like two preachers' kids having a conversation. Sorry if I lost some of y'all. But I will tell you, he's already a commissioner, so you don't have to take a step the other way, Femo. I think it's important, right? And I think the most hypercritical audience is us, right? We live in Wakanda. So what's in it for the Black people audience lives in Wakanda. It's the other people.
So
right?
do me a favor.
Yeah.
Can y'all help organize my 25th wedding anniversary?
Oh,
in
look, see,
Wakanda?
hold on. If you the
For-
mail, you
for-
got. If
for
you
a
the
small
mail,
fee, of
for-
course.
For the small fee. For a small fee. For a small fee. All right, y'all. This is the Mace Jackson Show. I am your host, Mace Jackson Reese. We're gonna take a quick break, and then I'm gonna come and give us a wrap, because I still didn't talk about the end of the Three Kings, and I did have a special close for Rosa Ramirez Rosa. I might let that be. But in the meantime, it is the Mace Jackson Show. Family will be back after these messages.
The Mace Jackson Show will be back after this break.
A lot of thoughts in my mind, gotta designate what to leave, what to take, and appreciate. A lot of people talk fly, but I levitate. Rise above with the love when I meditate. When I meditate. I roll with God cause he never late. My sundial in denial of the Ben Franks. On the road, let's travel with a full tank. Revolutionary overture, that's two saints. That's two sons. That's two saints. Like Peter Paul, me and you could be the new saints. Let me paint a new picture on the 16. Woolly haired black man with divine genes. Yeah, I be rapping, but these 16's art. Cathartic, therapeutic, really who needs charts? All I need is heart, God's love and some knowledge. Acknowledge, don't acknowledge, I be good, to be honest. It's like, if you never knew my name, at least I know me. Broken chains on my brain, now I'm set free. At peace in the now, I'm complete. Cause all I ever had to do is just be. Just be. Lot of thoughts in my mind, gotta designate what to leave, what to take, and appreciate. A lot of people talk fly, but I levitate. Rise above with the love when I meditate.
You are listening to the Mace Jackson Show. I'm your host, Mace Jackson. Got my man DJ Reese to rule on the ones and twos. Reese, what you think, man? I'll be honest with y'all. I know the den is harsh, but I did think that it was. I like Brandon. Excuse me, Commissioner Johnson. I don't know what, Reese. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I don't see him on TV soon, right? I'm concerned that labor and those people will start to have a reason as Chewy continues to build a sense of inevitability. Do y'all remember me talking to you about a sense of inevitability? It's when everybody starts to pile on and pile up, and then everybody, like, it looks like that's going to be the person, and so everybody starts to do it. Chuy Garcia filed second most signatures. I also think that Dr. Wilson is being severely discounted in the race. However, Reese, I did look at a leaked poll, pretty reliable poll, and right now, you know who the top two candidates are? Chuy Garcia and Paul Vallis. Now, it's a lot of people saying Paul Vallis wasn't a factor, but what I want y'all to understand, that's right now. This could change, but the fact of the matter is, Reese, that it's two white guys, well, one white guy against 8 black guys. He had it all to himself. So for you to not recognize that and to pretend like, you're like, he's so... No, fam. Turn off the fight. The white people are going to white. Now they have an option, and I think Chuy becomes the white candidate. Right? Chuy becomes the white candidate. And so now I think that the problem for... And there's a couple things that really jumped out to me. The first thing is that the House of Labor is divided now. So, Reese, like, if it was a white labor candidate, would they all be on his team? I'm curious. So I think we got to be paying attention to that. Because I do think that there's a clear split between the trades and the service unions. And then finally, Reese, the other thing is, now what this means is, with all these unions split up, it means that the Chicago Federation of Labor will not get behind one candidate for mayor, which means that it will be open and everybody can do what they want. Reese, I'm just telling you, man. It's going crazy. What you think about dude? Give me a call. 872-259-7474. 872-259-7474. I would like to hear from the audience before we go. What were your thoughts on Brandon Johnson? 872-259-7474. Reese, I seen you back there smiling.
He was passionate. You know, you could tell he was you could tell that he was a man that's fed up with how Chicago is. So he threw his name in the hat, and he believes that he can make a difference in Chicago. You can tell, but he did. He politically went around some questions, which I
think they all politicians.
Yeah, I would say which I respect.
Which question do you think you went around the most?
The majority of.
Okay,
like the majority of questions.
I feel like he got an answer, but he fluffed. He put so much around it that you lost the answer in the joint.
So, but his passion, and we need people that's passionate like that. I think he was he's all right individual. He definitely was.
All right. Think he got any chance?
Like you just said, name recognition. So I don't think because of his name recognition. Then who really knew Nori Lightfoot before she got
right.
I'm just being honest with you. I didn't know who Lori Lightfoot was until she was in the runoff almost. So there goes that. But he probably put his name out there a little bit more and what he's into.
He need to be on TV now.
Yeah, right.
Like
now.
My thing right now is all of the all of the candidates with low name recognition, Reese, they all need to be on TV right now. Right? They need to probably, but you know why they probably not on TV right now? Because it's so expensive. Because it's the holiday season and everybody got chestnuts roasting on an open fire. So you got to compete with all of those people. So y'all ain't have no opinions?
Well, here at the Mace Jackson Show, where you do not have to compete, you can come right on here, drop your ad dollars in.
Drop your ad dollars.
You ain't got to worry about competing there.
I think he is a very he has been media trained very, very well. And I think that what I think is to win the mayor's race, it's not the black vote. So right now we are about 4%. He talked to you at the office. He hasn't spoken at the broadest levels, right? He hasn't had the opportunity to come on the show, and I do think that I'll again ask you, who are the candidates that have come to the Maze Jackson show? Now, y'all know people sitting up here reading these comments. I think it's funny. I love it. Because they'd be like, hold on. Let me look. Let me not. And the other part I'm going to tell you is we always give people the opportunity. My job is no longer to force you to say, I'm going to ask you the question. If I say, do you support undocumented immigrants, and you give me a long, that's their answer. Can't force people into their space. But I do think, I think that black people in Wakanda need to be realistic about where you stand in this race. Again, I need for you to understand that with 8 black candidates in the race, nobody is specifically targeting black people. Until that number thins. You just got to hold your own and then go play in the other spaces. Right? So, as you do your political calculation, make sure that you recognize that everybody else is doing regular math and you're doing Wakanda math. Right? The black vote right now is split by 8. And somebody said something yesterday, I think it was William Watts, who said Chuy Garcia is going to be playing in the black community. Because black people want to be with the winner, and everybody ain't mad like us. No, I don't think it has to remain 4%, but until you change it, until somebody do the work, because we gonna be what? We gonna wait on Ricky Hendon to tell us what the final count is? The black vote right now in the city of Chicago, not suburbs, city of Chicago, because this is a city of Chicago election. You are 8. Right now, we are 29% of the vote. Yep. So I think everybody has the opportunity to make a decision. But I do think the biggest thing that I thought today, and I want to point this out real quick, and then I'm going to move. And then I'm going to let us close. Carlos Rosa Ramirez, who Tennille and Kerry said we're getting too much time. Yesterday decided that and I'm going to just bear with me 1 second. Carlos Rosa Ramirez Rosa, decided last night that he was going to include my wife in a disrespectful conversation with a white reporter. Unnecessarily. And as I thought about it last night, Reese, it was not lost on me that Carlos Ramirez Rosa was one of the people who signed those letters back in the day during the campaign. And Carlos Ramirez Rosa, in my estimation, is the epitome of why I have done the show that I do. On its face, Carlos Ramirez Rosa was a democratic socialist, a Latinx, and a member of the LGBTQ community. All three who would be told to us are all three groups are allies. So he would be like a triple ally, right, Reese? So if he is a democratic socialist, then he would understand the oppression that black people have had in this city, state, or country, right? But when given the opportunity to make a choice, he chose to side with a white oppressor who is now charging you, making you pay your property taxes 6 months late, right before Christmas. But as a socialist, when given the opportunity, Carlos Ramirez Rosa chose to align himself with white oppressors. So I would assume you could take that piece of allyship off the table. Then I thought about our so-called black and brown coalition, of which Carlos Ramirez Rosa is supposed to be our ally as black people, right? Because we heard Brandon say that they could have been them, but they chose him as a black man to lead. But yet and still, as a member of the Black and Brown Coalition and a leading spokesperson for a campaign that purports to be about black and brown coalitions, Carlos Rosa Ramirez, as a brown man, chose to take the opportunity to team up with a white reporter to disrespect a black woman. Yet I should call him an ally. And then, as a member of the LGBTQ community, we would have expected that there would be some alliance or allyship with Carlos Ramirez Rosa, because as a member of the LGBTQ community, he is marginalized. Correct? And in every opportunity where he had an opportunity to demonstrate allyship, the same allyship that he's supposed to be at the forefront of the campaign that we just got through talking about, this is one of the allies that we should be dealing with, right? He chose at every point to take the route of disrespect and to choose the route of disrespect to a black woman. Now, I do take it personal because it is my wife. And whether Tennille or my wife understands it, there is a feeling that comes over a man when your woman is verbally or physically attacked. Fair? If I was to say nothing, if I was to pretend like it didn't happen, then I would be a man. Correct? You could say, oh, they just wanted to get a rise out of you. But at what point do I, as a black man, have the right to just say, don't keep my wife's name out your mouth? Not in a threatening manner, just in a manner of respect. Because what he also knows, Reese, is that because of his status as an elected official, if I was to approach it in another manner, guess what? I would be arrested. And from the comfort of your living room, you chose to disrespect just because you felt like you could. And so as I think about these conversations about allies and black and brown, I want to know, is Rosa Ramirez the example of what allyship looks like for black people? And then my question would be to Brandon Johnson, who handled it, because Brandon was like, I was like, Femo, I've been nothing but cool to you. And one of the things that you learn, like I learned in a campaign, Reese, was that if I say, remember I had a sticker on my computer? And they used the sticker to turn it into anti-Semitic and all of that stuff. And Rosa Ramirez was signing the letters and tweeting them out and being all, remember? He's anti-black women. He's misogynistic. No? And then I guess my question is, how do those actions impact? Because I was just sitting here thinking like, Dad, why would you do that to your boy knowing he's coming on the Maze Jackson show tomorrow morning? Right? So when you talk about those Northwest Side allies and all of those people that chose, well, I guess my question is he gonna apologize to my wife? Is he gonna take black sensitivity training, or does he just get to take the tweet down and be like, oh, my bad?
So I think apology is needed. To tie sensitivity classes in there, they would have to try to piece it together.
So Reese, I guess my question is, why did Kyrie have to? Because it was one tweet.
Yeah, but he.
See how you make an excuse for the.
No.
Let me just be clear. Let me tell you what. This is where we always screw up, right? We don't need to make it. Let him figure out his excuse. Well, you don't got to get him out of it.
Well, I'm just explaining like
Explain
the
it to me.
difference is. So like Kyrie, which I don't think he needed training, he posted something that had anti-Semitic things in it, even though that it was only references. Like I actually read it, it was only references. So he should apologize for like bringing her name, bringing her name into it. If he was just trying to state a fact, then he could have just said, they've given people money before and they didn't win. That's all he had to say. But if he actually added a name to it, then he actually personally.
He added a name and a picture. He added a name and a picture. See, but this is my thing, right? So here go my thing though. Yeah, we make excuse for this chump already.
no,
Like my thing
he
is,
needs an
fam,
apology.
you put a picture and a name without an at in the conversation, right? And then expect that I'm supposed to sit here and not pretend like I didn't hear it. No, I feel like you wouldn't have done that to no white candidate. It is the fact that I can disrespect the black woman and get away with it. Now, again, would he have done that to a white person? Probably not. Because we can be clear that there are plenty of races that 150's been in that they didn't win, and none of them were as close to what Kerry did. None. So, here's me, right? This is what you just did, Reese. I'm just tell you. You know how when it be a fight, and I'd be like, don't hold my hands. Just go hold him. Look. We could pile it on all the way up, right? Because remember, they took every single piece of. They took your clip. Rosa Ramirez took your clip, made you anti-LGBT, all of that. And guess what? Nobody did. Say, oh, well, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't go that far. No, punk. No. Excuse me, and not punk. I take that back. Respectfully. There is nothing that a black man has that a white person feels bound to respect. Fam, I was asleep at 9 o'clock at night, and I got another campaign texting me you being disrespectful. Now, you can call it sensitive, you can call it what it is. But I tell you what, we ever seen them do that to some white people? Nah, plenty other people. But they thought they could get away with it in this case. Shout out to Brandon Johnson, though, for calling him. And yeah, it's like you don't, and I understand thinking with your head, but you don't give up your advantage. Like you work it back, but you don't give it up. You don't concede it in the beginning. Anyway, y'all, this is the Maze Jackson Show. So, yeah. Everybody impact the campaigns that they are associated with, right? And let me just tell you, within 20, 30 minutes of me reaching out to Johnson, he was on the phone with dude. But it's all good. I just think, family, that these people, Rosa Ramirez would have the ability to walk around the black community unadulterated as an ally when he's really not. Anyway, it's the Maze Jackson Show. It's the Maze Jackson Show. So I'm up out of here. But shout out to Brandon Johnson for stopping by. Thank you to everybody on the Maze Jackson Show. Every single day we ask the question, what's in it for black people? That's why Maze, Reese, and Ruthie are here every day. And if you don't like it, you can still tell them. Maze said, we out of here. Peace.
Let's get down to business and go ahead and address the facts. Man, Lightfoot seems more lesbian than black. Rahm Emanuel's another case. He was just as tired. 50 closed schools left much to be desired. Police had Anjanette naked on that body cam. They suppressed the footage so it couldn't touch a lot of hands. Reminds me of that 16 shots in that cover-up. Both of them similar, so I went and dug it up. George Floyd killed, a lot of riots happened in the town. Southside burned and they wouldn't let them bridges down. Grandmother sick, need a prescription and plus a couple groceries. You gon' have to travel just to get it now. COVID-19 out here shutting all the business down. Not enough SBA loans to even give around. So many failed businesses that you could put them in the pile. If you don't survive the pandemic, it's gon' sit you down. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. Shout out to Willie Wilson, hope one day you get to send it. We need some different players in the game to handle business. Too many shady characters like Madigan and Blago. But when you really break it down, it's typical Chicago. City full of gangsters, it's what the land was built on. Same streets with hood legends, DNA get spilled on. Carjackers out here lurking, trying to get they steal on. Looking for a block to put them Hellcat wheels on. Let us give bogus appraisals a red line. Car crackers out here getting minimal fair time. And I'm concealed carry, I stay with the pipe. But Illinois gun laws giving minimal rights. Stay up on the swivel, make sure I'm moving tight. Check all of my mirrors when I pull up to the light. Pick my homie up from out of town, man, he caught a flight. He was hella nervous, told him, shorty, this a way of life. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks.